getting a decent TVR today is not all that easy. It looks like the engine is still pretty much original. I don't think this is a good reason for that. There must have been another reason. Here it is, and that's coming off the valve cover. And that looks all right. Which valves are really ticking? Dripping out here, it's all wet and soaked with oil. It peels off a little bit here and there, but it's still very solid. Oh, that's a bit weird. It's a bit loose. Flexible hoses, that looks all right, but it's going to need a bit of cleaning up. Soaked with oil here. I'm not sure where it's coming from. What I can see inside is that everything is dry. A bad seal on the carter. Now the exhaust, that's a bit of a different story. That doesn't look all that pretty. And I'm sure that it's leaking as well because I can actually see it. Pretty bad shape, I think. It's a bit rusty. There's no grooves on it, so that's good. I see the radiator is a little bit wet. So I think the bearing needs to be tightened up on this side. So I'm gonna have a leak, 5 psi. It's still a bit hot, so to put pressure, we're going to pump it up. Just going to give it a little bit more. It doesn't hurt to give it a bit more. That's how you can spot it. It is also leaking. And probably it has punctured the hole. That's what I put on it. It seems that this radiator is broken. The side came off. It's an original TVR radiator. And they abandoned, it's time to get them replaced. Mild steel as you build your way up to the front. And then bend it nicely over. All wrapped up and ready to go onto the car on the seals. So take that off. And you should be good to get it off. The mess that we have around here. And it came off very easy inside, and they look perfect all around. There we go. Put the new seal in, weekly. And then I can suck out all the dust. This is now ready to be reinstalled. And meanwhile, the radiator has been rebuilt. Now that we had holes in different areas, check the fans. So I ordered some new ones. They will have to be replaced. I'm going to loosen up kind of. Going to take out the pipes. It's steel mufflers, as it appears to be. There's nothing wrong with these mufflers. Just, loosen it up. So let's see. So it was certainly time to replace this header. Until you reach the end, and then just turn it back and release. So now I'm going to put the seals up and try to move the eggs up. Okay, that's good. Not too much. 1 point. Actual rubber that I'm still missing, but that's for tomorrow, I hope. Further down the mufflers. Now these pipes are going to go on like this. So if you're turning it, you. Let me say it, El Cheapo version. See if this is going to fit now. Too much effort. See how that one looks like. Oof, this one is pretty white. 5 and 6. Actual hose itself. Or something else is wrong. Now it's going up. Over here in the carter, so let me remove the cap. So let me take this off. Little seals, and this is a seal light. It has to go over the valve stem, like so. Mark on the pulley. That's one. See, here it is. Remove the valve spring. Getting these clips in can be a little bit tricky, but I'm just going to shock it once. Original spot. Stuck, it should slide in between. And then check the scale here. What? That is pretty clean. Seal here with that grommet. PCV valve, that goes right in there. See that? If I open it up, you can see the butterflies that are opening up. If you look closely, you see immediately something is missing here. I mean, the way it's been built, the way the finish is. So in other words, you only take half. I'm having an intake on my, I'm just looking at the different parts. This is the seal. Take those out, and there is one side, a emulsion of air and fuel. Lead needle. It is going into the engine when it's running on idle. We want to get out Tory, and you've seen me taking that apart. And if you look closely, there is a number on it. It's always the same. It doesn't get more narrow or wider. What I have on the board is a representation of the idle circuit. On the top of it, we are fitting actually the idle jet. And on the side, you have a little hole. That's the air hole. For that, we need to install a new seal. So I'm going to turn those all the way in. However, we want to accelerate, and then you can adjust one of the butterflies, and progression hole is closed. And now that the engine is running, of course, we have an airflow coming through the whole system. So now let me mix that. And now you will see that we get an emulsion, right? You're getting this big mixture of air and fuel, this emulsion. Correction jets. Acceleration pump on the carburetor, and the acceleration pump is sitting right here. That's what I typically do. And then it just fits on there. Either the membrane to move back or forward. Is connected with a small connection all the way down to the bottom of the carburetor. You will have to depress slightly the actual spring here. See that? And that's about right. And now we have the brass bolt that goes on top of it, and make sure that it's in the right direction, because you don't want to block any holes that should be open. Lock it into place. Downlink, so that's going to go over there. I have a bit of play, not a lot. Look on how that play. I placed the bush all the way onto the bolt, so now that should go in smoothly. And see, now we barely have any play. Anti-roll bar. So let's get going on this. So that's going in like this with the W facing downwards. Ford genuine PCV valve. That's what it is. I could have gone for an electrical one, but I haven't. So that is a good working choke system. But I don't want to squeeze it too hard. Very loose. So this is the actual piece that is holding the linkage onto the frame. So the linkage will come all the way through. That should just do the job perfectly. So this is the final result. So the fuel system is now installed. So I'm not going to bolt it down yet. It's too short. There is more limitation on the alternator and it's actually hitting it. So I can't bring it further down. Very simple and it's quite accurate. There we go, that just fits nicely. And all I need to do now is pull it back. And the way the thermostat sits in the thermostat housing is like this. And now you see the thermostat is actually open. See that closing? Each one of them, a little drip of engine oil on the thread. So if you need to figure out the firing order on the Ford SX36, then it's pretty simple. And that's about 1.6 ohms, so that is good. Lots of them, and I'm going to rerun this whole circuitry in a different way because I don't think the way it was run the proper way. So let me show you those parts so you know what these are. And that's all. And here is our bleed valve. And to do all this work, I'm going to use Blue Extreme tubes. I still need to hook up the cable here to control it. So here we have the little motor, and I pushed it in already. Oh man, this is really fiddling. Wow, look at that. It means that we have a brand new core in the middle, and the core that's been put in is a high efficiency core. Now these are driven by a thermostat switch, and see what the fan will do. So let's see. The steering rod here is a bit in the way to properly fit it. So what I've done is I pulled up the suspension. And then we can actually slide inside this tube. We can slide in the sensing probe. So let's drill a hole into the cap of 15 mil. And locked. Of course, I still have to put the rubber up. So the canlow adjustment is fitted right underneath the spare wheel. And now I'm sucking air out of the cooling system of the car. So I'm going to block it and now open up the suction now. And now you see we are actually sucking in cooling liquid into the engine itself. But we can only try. Well, so it's gonna work just perfectly.